All right, Rajan, welcome back. How's it going?
Very, very good. Very good.
Very good, brother. So yeah, last time we spoke a little bit about everything. We spoke about spirituality, the beginnings of your book.
Right.
Now we can speak a little bit on the empires and the esotericism of things. And
Are you sure you're pronouncing that right? Esotericism?
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word.
Esotericism, yeah.
Is that a word?
Yeah. Like from
is
esoteric.
that a Dominican word?
Dominican, Spanglish.
Esotericism.
Yeah.
Okay.
And power. So yeah, jumping right into power, what would you say is the difference between, and again, this is all coming back to your book, like what would you say is the difference between knowledge and power?
Okay. Again, I got to go back to Dr. Clark, Dr. John Henrik Clark. He says education is to teach people the responsible use of power. And knowledge comes with education, hopefully. And knowledge is supposed to give you that ability to use that knowledge. I mean, education is supposed to come with the ability to give you that knowledge so you can use that knowledge productively and responsibly, as Dr. Clark says. So knowledge isn't really power. Knowledge is simply information. And information can just stay there. It's the implementation and the uses of information. That's why they hide a lot of information. You know, over the years, I've just learned that I just didn't know a damn thing about life, about what makes sense, about money, about what you should be doing. And I started learning over the last 15 years or so because I was just all over the place. And I learned how to trade the financial markets, and that's a skill in and of itself. And I learned how to, understand what business is and what education's supposed to be. When you go to school, you get all this knowledge. You get no stable, functional process of how to make yourself better. You're trained to go and work for somebody. So you get functional knowledge. You know, there was a guy that was like crazy old guy, but he was brilliant. And his name escapes me right now, but he was the editor and a researcher for a famous African-American scholar named Dr. Ben. And Dr. Ben is like a big time guy. He wrote, Africa Mothers, Western Civilization. He's like a powerhouse in the African world, or in the historical world when it comes to that stuff. Mm-hmm. And he had I used to hang out with this guy a lot. I just can't remember his name, or maybe I'm a little nervous because of the camera. But he said, you don't have a job, you have a function. And when you go to work, you go to whatever job, you're in a warehouse, or you're at a law firm, or you're whatever, you're just functioning. And that education was teaching you how to function to raise the capital for this individual. Like when you work for all these big companies, you have a function. It's like they said Amazon is getting rid of 600,000 workers and replacing them with robots. Mm-hmm. If you could replace somebody with a robot, how good was your abilities in the first place? You were just rote. You were just, you were just basically somebody who was doing labor. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to try to replace surgeons with robots and stuff like that. I don't know if that's going to work, but it's going to be very difficult to replace everything with a robot. So a lot of knowledge is just functional knowledge. Like when you work out, you could get big and brolic, but to be an athlete, you need functional mass. To be a linebacker, to be a point guard, to be a golfer,
a baseball player,
You need was that a Dominican shot at me? You know, you need functional mass, right? And that mass helps you to function as a baseball player. And you know, maybe one day they'll replace baseball players with robots, and you idiots will watch that shit.
They had in Korea, I think Steph Curry went to Korea, and they had like these guys come out with like a bunch of arms, and one with like a balloon, like a balloon guy, and then one was a robot to compete with Stephen Curry, and he still beat them. You know, like,
That's Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, yeah.
You know,
No, when
Steph will beat me in basketball. Prince won't. Prince ain't gonna beat me in basketball. Muggsy Bogues will beat me in basketball, and Muggsy Bogues was 5'4", and Spud Webb will beat me in basketball.
R.I.P.
Spud
Prince,
was
by the way.
5'7". Prince ain't beat me in basketball.
Right. So I had this idea, like, well, I've been listening to a lot of things about rules and rule breakers. Who are the rule breakers and who follow the rules? What is the difference, like, between education? You know, when you're educating, like, the lower class and the upper class.
Well, there's another book out there called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and pedagogy just means the teachings, and you have to give people a certain amount of knowledge so they can do what it is you want them to do. Nobody's going to give you the knowledge to replace them. This society is not going to give you the knowledge to replace them. Like I said, China has lifted 800 million people out of poverty. China has given their population the tools to prosper. They're giving them, you know, I don't know what China is when it comes to the surveillance state and all that, and the facial recognition and all that stuff, but they're doing that here too.
And their social points.
And their social points. I don't know too much about that. I spoke to a lot of Chinese people who go back and forth to China, and they say it's not like that. But China is really on the move to try and do stuff to help their people come up. Because a broke, poor civilization is not a healthy civilization, and it's not a civilization that's going to give you the ability to thrive. Western civilization does not want you competing with them. You know what I mean? Western civilization wants you to know enough to go to work, to put money in their pocket, to go home, take a nap, watch their TV, rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. Western civilization care about people from the age of 18 to like 55. Once you hit 55, they could care less about it. That's why healthcare is a big problem in America, because a lot of people that need healthcare are the elderly. They could care less than spending money taking care of the elderly, because the elderly doesn't function for them. Older people don't function for them. Young people do. You know, you go and you lift, you know, boxes for companies, and you drive trucks, and you do secretarial work or whatever functions you have in there. You just go there and do that. So, you know, when you have somebody giving you a certain amount of knowledge or education, they're giving you just enough to not ever think about taking them on.
Now, so that pretty much says, like, just stay in your lane, you know, like, do until you're told. But so do those people that are told to stay in their lane, do they prosper? Do they become somebody?
Well, the only way they prosper and become somebody is to get out of the lane. You know, the only way to, you know, you got a bunch of cars driving. The only way to get around those cars and get out of the lane, get out of that traffic jam, is to switch lanes. You got to get out that lane. Mm-hmm. You get in your left lane, you go past these people, and you go ahead. You know, that stay in your lane means follow the rules and don't buck the system. But a lot of people have gotten out of the lane. But funny thing about getting out of the lane, when you get out of the lane, the establishment comes for you, and they give you more riches and more wealth, and then you become part of the established, like some of these guys that are out there.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? They see that you're doing stuff, they see that you're thriving, they said, you know what? We're gonna make you a billionaire. We're gonna make you a blah, blah, blah. They're legitimate billionaires, Like Michael Jordan's a legitimate billionaire. I guess Oprah Winfrey's a legitimate billionaire. These people actually did years and years of work. But some guy who owns some app company, he's a billionaire. I mean, this guy's getting shoveled from the establishment. Facebook, they say Facebook was, doing stuff for the government. Elon Musk does stuff for the government. You're not a true billionaire if you're getting government subsidies. You know what I mean? The government's putting money in your pocket. A lot of Elon Musk's money is government. He even had his Starlink stuff fucking with the Iranians. And the Iranians dismantled his Starlink. That was the last, when it was doing that protest in Iran. Well, Iran had that Starlink in their country. And Starlink was, the protesters or whatever, they were infiltrators in the country, from what I understand. They infiltrated the country and they started killing people and blowing up shit. And they were getting the messages from Starlink. They shut down Starlink and they killed the protest. And so you got a private citizen. For me, if I'm a private citizen, I don't want to fuck with another country, especially a country like Iran. And because, although you're working for the establishment, somebody could take you out. And you don't know who that somebody is. I got a list of people that could be taken out by these countries because it's reported that these people are using their businesses to adversely affect these countries. And somebody from one of these countries is going to go off. I mean, I just mentioned Elon Musk. I mean, I hope nothing happens to the guy, but I just mentioned Elon Musk because that's the latest thing that happened. I got a list of guys that could wind up in a position where they become a target. Let me give you an example. Years ago, a guy wrote a book called The Satanic Verses, right? He was a Pakistani dude or an Indian dude or some shit like that, right? And he wrote this book called Satanic Verses. And it was disrespect to the Quran, disrespect to Muhammad. And you don't do that. You know that. You don't fuck with Islam because them motherfuckers are about their business. So the Ayatollah put out a fatwa on him. And a fatwa is like a hit. It's like a mob hit. But you got more Muslims than the mob. You know what I'm saying? You got Indonesian Muslims. You got Pakistani Muslims. You got African American Muslims. You got Nigerian Muslims. So when he put out that fatwa and they're down with their Bible, that dude, Salman Rushdie, went into hiding and he's still in hiding today.
Wow.
That was like 40 years ago. He's still in hiding today. Maybe he's dead. I don't know. If they decide to do that with some of the people that are doing stuff that are adversely affecting Muslim countries, not just Iran, you could lose your life, or your life could become seriously uncomfortable. And I'm not going to mention the names of people because I don't want to spread shit and name Americans that could be targets, so motherfuckers go, oh, well, let's target that dude. I just mentioned Elon because Elon everybody knows that Starlink is Elon, so it's not like I'm bringing out a big secret.
Right.
But that could be dangerous.
Yeah, no, and I don't know much about Iran and what's happening right now. I try not to dig too deep right now because of where I'm at in my mind. And but I did see, I started watching to understand what's happening. This one guy he just traveled to Iran, and they're very anti-videos, like very anti, like showing like a video in their face or recording. And I don't know why, but the guy was trying to explain. I haven't finished watching the whole thing.
I'm anti-video. I don't want you coming up to me and shooting me with your video. I don't want that. Our culture, sometimes forces people to accept certain things. Like it's a part of your civil rights and your constitutional right to film in public. I don't know how constitutional that is to film a private person in public, but they assume that if you're in public, you're not private. So anybody can walk around and just film you. I don't like that personally. I don't want to be in your phone. I don't want you emailing me to your cousin. I don't know you. So I don't know, maybe it's the Iranian culture that doesn't want that anti-filming shit. But most people, you know, a lot of times like celebrities, right? I mean, I'm not a celebrity, but people want to take pictures with me and shit. And sometimes I just don't feel like. Sometimes I just woke up. Sometimes my fucking hair ain't right, my face ain't right, my clothes ain't right, but you want to take a picture of me. Where's that picture going?
Okay.
You know, that picture don't stay in your phone. You know, boom, 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 boom. And next thing you know, don't send this to nobody. I'm going to send it to you, but don't send this to nobody. She said, don't send this to nobody. Now 40 motherfuckers got your picture that they're not going to send it to anybody.
Right.
You know, and then that might be a bad picture of you. That's why they're in the comedy clubs. You know, and this is for you people who go to comedy clubs. Take it from a comedian. Don't film us because we are working on stuff. Sometimes we may say shit and don't mean it, or we may say shit that's offensive, but it's funny at that moment, but we don't want it public. Don't film us because if you're making a dress or you're designing an app or you're creating a project or you're writing a book, you don't want somebody over your shoulder taking photographs of your manuscript or downloading your technology and just giving it out. And when we're on stage and we're performing, just enjoy the fucking show. Put the camera down. The experience is not in your phone. I'm right in front of you. I've seen people, I've been to like Prince concerts, I've been to Rihanna concerts. I'm like, why is your phone out? The bitch is right there. That's the experience. Rihanna is right there. She's singing. Beyonce is right there. That's, okay, I'm a drummer, right? So I got invited to a lot of concerts. And I know somebody who was like playing for Michael Jackson, and he got me into the concert, right? And I'm sitting there with my girlfriend, and I'm looking at the concert, but Michael Jackson is Michael Jacksoning.
Michael Jackson.
You know, he's like, you know, doing his thing. I mean, that's the best motherfucker that ever did it. You could say what the fuck you want.
I ain't gonna argue with that.
Say what the fuck you want. Before Prince, Michael Jackson was an 8-year-old busting ass, right? So anyway, so Michael is Michael, right? And I'm watching straight ahead. And my girl, she's enjoying the fucking show, right? And Michael Jackson is doing the damn thing. But I'm not looking at Michael. Because the song that they were doing was a song called Working Day and Night. And I'm looking at, guess what? The drummer.
Okay.
The drummer, his name is Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett. And I'm staring at, because I'm more...
Jonathan Sugarfoot the Mafia.
No, Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett, right? Moffett. He's, they call him Sugarfoot because he's got like the best kick drum action. And so I'm watching, she's like, what are you looking at? I'm like...
Michael Jackson's over there.
I mean, Michael Jackson's, because I personally think the only song Michael Jackson can't really dance to is Working Day and Night. He can dance to all the other songs.
I don't remember that song.
Yeah, because you're fucking young and stupid. But Michael Jackson, that song is very, very fast and very difficult to dance to. And I think that's the song that he really can't dance to, but he works it out. And I'm looking at Jonathan Moffett, and Jonathan is doing the damn thing. And that was my experience. I would never put a phone up to Jonathan Moffett. Because the experience doesn't live in your phone, it lives in your mind. And if you lose your phone, you accidentally delete, you lost it because you wasn't watching. The glass is not the human. So stop recording comedians and stop recording the show and just watch Beyonce.
I want to go deeper into that, into technology. Now we can come back to this, but I want to go into technology.
I don't know why my neck keep getting stiff when I fucking talk to you, man. Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's this whole thing. Like,
I don't know what the fuck it is. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah, technology. So I want to talk about technology and what is, talk about what technology we have today. How has technology affected our spirituality? How about that?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. I don't think technology has affected our spirituality. I think the church has fucked up our spirituality. I think technology enhances our spirituality. Because I remember years ago, the Knicks, they had this player named Allen Houston and a guy named Charlie Ward, right? And they were like Christians, right? And they had their Bibles on an iPad or one of them, tablets. And right before the game, they would pray and they would read Bible verses. And I mean, I'm not a big Christian dude. I believe in God and stuff like that, and Jesus or whatever. But bottom line is, these guys were really about their Bible study. And it was a good Knick team, too. I think Jesus was helping them because that was a good-ass Knick team. And so they were using technology. Instead of carrying around a Bible, Charlie or Alan would just whip out the Bible and do their thing. Nothing can really affect your spirituality unless your spirituality is already fucked up. Like, there's this app. I'm not going to advertise them for free, but there's this app. It's a terrific app that allows you to put videos on in a way that no other app allows you to do it. And a good 75% of their customers are preachers. And these preachers preach their sermon, and they have their congregation, and the congregation pays a certain amount of money, a subscription, and they get to see the worship. Now, you may not think that Christianity, the way it's delivered today, is spiritual, but that technology will allow you to get to the word in ways you never knew you could. Spirituality been fucked up.
Right. And
So-
but I wanted
And
to
it's
go.
been, like the question was, affected.
Yeah.
It's been affected in a bad way.
Even before the technology that we
Even
have
before
today.
the technology, shit, man, before the goddamn telephone, spirituality got fucked up.
But I wanted specifically into that part that you said, like if you lose your phone, you lose your memory, kind of thing. Like you said.
No, you lose your phone, you don't lose your memory. Your memory's always there. If you lose your phone, based on the fact that you recorded something you're supposed to remember, the phone has it and you don't.
Okay.
Your eyes.
So the dependency of
Right. Like let's say, because but I was watching Jonathan Moffat before, you could stick out a phone in video and shit like that. It was like 2005 or whatever, 2006. And Jonathan Moffat played for a lot of people. He played for Madonna and stuff like that. And if I recorded Jonathan Moffat at that time, or even if I took a camera, I would not have that footage. If I want,
I see what you're saying.
if I want to record, the phone is gone, it's lost, it's broken,
The memories
whatever.
corrupted.
Right. But my visual experience of Jonathan Moffat playing drums for Michael Jackson, it's absurd.
And then, like, also, there's all other cameras that probably recorded him, so you could probably pick it up.
The
find it
fucking
now.
show has been recorded 10,000 times.
So
you
you
can
don't
go
have
and
to-
buy that shit.
Everybody with their phone.
Right. Everybody's out there with the phone, Back in the day was put your lighters up.
Right.
See,
That
you
was
remember
the light.
that?
That was the light.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done
Yeah,
that.
yeah, because you're a young bitch. But it was put your lighters up.
That was the light,
Right,
not the flashlight.
now it's the fucking phone. Put your lighters up, man.
Nice, yeah. So when it comes to the sacred knowledge, right? Like, we have technology that's storing information, but then you have sacred knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation. Why is that always kept secret?
I don't know if it was Plato or Socrates or Aristotle, but one of them niggas said, if you're writing it down, you'll never learn it. Or if you're writing it down, you're stupid. Some shit like that. I forgot the exact quote. Writing shit down was not how you learned. You learn by absorbing the information. Writing stuff down really, really helps. At least it helps me. But you're absorbing the information. So when you, I forgot the fucking question.
Like why is sacred knowledge always kept secret?
Okay, sacred knowledge is not really kept secret. It's just kept out of the hands of the irresponsible.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, and you wasn't paying attention, I said education is to teach the person how to use. Education to teach the person how to become a responsible user of power.
Responsible.
So if you got some village wacko and a bunch of barbarians, and there were barbarians in Africa, not everybody, even in ancient Egypt, not everybody was this high priest or whatever. There are a lot of people who just weren't civilized at the time. Civilizations, have barbarians in them, That's why they're called civilizations. Some of them motherfuckers, this nigga ain't ready, and they kept things secret because and it's not secret because if the people know, and it wasn't like 5, 6 people that knew shit. You had priests and dozens and hundreds of priests and educational entities that knew this stuff. But you had to come up and you have to be initiated. I talked about this in the book, which is one of the deepest things I've ever heard in my life. He said the pyramids, this is this guy, he wrote a book called Black Genesis, right? His name is Robert Bouval. I quote him in the book, but I'm gonna give you the quote. He said the pyramids are the hardware of life. And the software is the initiate who knows the foundation and fundamental science that's involved in the pyramids. So you have to be initiated into certain things. Harvard ain't a secret society. Yale ain't a secret society, but they keep people out. It's a, what's it called? It's an elite society. So if you're not elite, you're not getting into Harvard. They just started letting black people into Harvard like 30 years ago. You had 2 or 3 black people going in there, but it wasn't a lot. So what Western civilization does is keeps you out of the education, and they assume that you're not responsible. They assume that you're not responsible.
Onto proven.
Right. Everybody today, for the most part, is a responsible human being. But back then, they had to guard certain things. They really had to guard certain things. And so today, I mean, there's literacy all over the place. So you can go out there and get stuff. They kept it, so one, they had to build their civilization. And they had to build it a certain way. And they had, like the book, you guys looking at the book. That's a lot of heavy science in that image. Heavy science. That the 3 stars, that's like, Orion's belt. The pyramids are lined up directly with Orion's belt, and the equinox and all that crazy black shit. That is not something you could just give anybody. because you have to know that they're going to be responsible to it. So you have to become an initiate and you get involved in that. And anybody could do it if they work. It took like 30, 40 years for you to go to school because this was real shit. This was real shit. This is not becoming a plumber, no disrespect to plumber. You can go and become a plumber, but this is about deep spiritual shit. Like, you go into the Dogon Society, they're not gonna fucking put their shit on a DVD and give it to you. Yeah, this is all our shit. No. So that's what that was all about. It wasn't a secret society. It was a responsible society.
Responsible, but the elite will guard the information.
And we gotta stop with these Western words with elites.
Well, in the sense of like
the educated people, the educated people who were building the civilization. You got to understand, these people were building stuff on serious knowledge that they got after centuries and centuries. You did not build the pyramids the first time a black man walked the face of the earth. That took tens of thousands of years. Scientific observation, scientific knowledge, learning, failing, and then they built it. But when they built it, it was a magnificent structure, scientifically unachievable today. Because we're a dumb fuck civilization compared to those people. So scientifically, they have developed this knowledge. They're not just gonna throw it out there to anybody. You know what I mean? Because for example, this is the responsible use of knowledge. I believe this ever since I was 10. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of shit. But I believe Africans knew how to split the atom and create nuclear fission. I believe Africans had gotten to the point where they could do certain things like that, right? The white man got there, got the science, got the technology, saw the ramifications of what a nuclear weapon can do, and still did it. That is the irresponsible use of knowledge. Because now you got shit that could blow up the fucking world 4,000 times over. Why, nigga? Why? Why? And that is what, you got to keep the madman out the fucking classroom.
But the other ones, I mean, they claim to have all the information today, right? Like all the knowledge. But going
Even
back
Einstein said, yo, I fucked up.
Yeah, I seen
It's
that.
like, yo,
He
man,
regretted
I shouldn't have done that shit.
It was a lot of power.
I mean, I always say people come full circle. They get really, really smart, then go back to stupid. Let me give you an example. They're fucking with genetics now, right? There's a guy named Robert Malone who invented some shit. I forgot what it was. But the gene shit, some gene shit. I forgot what the fuck it was.
Look it up, Robert Malone. Go ahead.
No. I think I got it. He invented the gene therapy that they used in the vaccine.
Oh, okay.
Right?
To make it less resistant. RNA.
Yeah, the RNA.
DNA splitting and.
No, DNA and RNA too. But it's the RNA vaccine, right? I forgot exactly what the fuck it was because I'm thinking about a lot of shit. So now you're fucking with the genetics of the human being, right? And you think the mRNA vaccines. Now you're fucking with the genetics of human beings. So now you've drifted into playing God. You incompetent fuck. You now believe because you can do it, you should do it. You know what I mean? There's sometimes when you get to a knowledge level, you pump your brakes and you go, you know what? It's like being in an argument with your wife. And then you get to a point where you want to say something. And you go, you know what? This could fuck up my shit for a while and this could kill my relationship. Let me pump my brakes. So this Robert Malone dude went from tabula rasa, 0. Tabula rasa means blank slate. He went from 0 high school, kindergarten, high school, whatever, and he became a very, very smart doctor. And at 6 o'clock, he became a smart doctor. And he was doing a lot of good stuff. And then he drifted to fucking 8, 9 o'clock. Then he started fucking around in areas he is unqualified for. He is going through the God loop. And when you go through the God loop, you will fuck things up. And then by the time he got to 11 o'clock, he's back to fucking stupidity. Because you get to the point where you think you're so smart that you start touching things that you should not be touching. Who am I to say you should not be touching? My dude, you have gone way past the Rubicon now.
What is that?
You've gone over the fucking hill. You've gone over the edge. You are now fucking with human DNA. You're now creating things that shouldn't be created. What the fuck are you doing? And they call it science. Oh, we're gonna fucking clone this, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna hybrid this, and we're gonna put a goat with a monkey, and a monkey with a goat, and a watermelon with a fucking fish. What the fuck is wrong with you? These motherfuckers in Africa didn't do none of that shit. They built a civilization and kept the lunatics out. And these motherfuckers, for some reason, for whatever fucking reason it is, they gotta go into the fucking wild and pull up a bunch of bullshit that ain't gonna help nobody. And it's gonna hurt them more than it hurts anybody else. I will not get into DNA and genes on a specific level, but it's gonna backfire.
So when it comes to students, because recently I saw, like, you studying something, then when do the students become a master, or do you never stop studying?
You never really stop studying. You just continue to try and make life better. But in that urge to make life better, like there was a race to put people on the moon. I don't believe anybody ever went to the fucking moon, but there was a race to put people on the moon. Why? Where are you going? What the fuck are you doing? I mean, the moon? What the fuck you going? You gonna build a civilization? You gonna bring slaves up there? You gonna have a plantation? What the fuck are you doing on the moon? And in the same way there was a race to put people on the moon, there was a race to get better weapons, there's a race to get this, everybody's fighting, blah, blah, blah. And there's a race to spend a ton of human fucking capital on bullshit. On bullshit. It's like you got a wife, a kid, a house, and a mortgage. And you're going out and buying fucking skateboards and hot cars and all kinds of bullshit that's going to wind up in a dump instead of you bettering your life for your family. Now, if you're a skateboarder and that's how you make your money, cool. But don't go out and start fucking off your money. And that's what this civilization does. Do you know how much we spend on bombs? And what people don't understand, this is my opinion. What people don't understand is a defense contractor is a salesperson, okay? A defense contractor is gonna sell you a weapon, and he's gonna tell you what this weapon's gonna do. And you're gonna buy the weapon based on, it's like a motherfucker selling you a used car. Yeah, the engine's fine. I know it's got 650,000 miles on it, but this is a solid engine. That's what the weapon, everybody's selling you something. Like they sold Israel the Iron Dome. And the Iron Dome was a technology, it was missile technology that could shoot down missiles that's coming in to your country. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But they believed it and they bought it. You know, it doesn't make sense. It's like dodgeball. You're gonna get hit. You know, you can't have no Iron Dome in dodgeball, and that's only 2 balls. Iran sent fucking sardine cans. They sent fucking old bumpers from cars. They sent fucking they shot every fucking thing at Israel, right? And Israel shot back $1 million missiles at $40,000 weapons. I trade the markets, right? You gotta have a stop loss. And your ratio has to be 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. Meaning you gotta make $4 and be willing to lose $2. That's a 4 to 1 ratio. They had $1 million to $20,000 ratio, or $40,000 ratio, because the Iranian missiles were not expensive. But American missiles shooting at the Iranian missiles were hella money.
Israelis? Oh, but they were both from America?
Yeah, well, Israel gets its weapons from America. But they had this sense that this Iron Dome was going to work. And, you know, the sensible recognition is to understand that these motherfuckers could just spray your ass with shit. You know, they could send a missile loaded with cabbage. And you're shooting down a cabbage missile with a $2 million, $5 million Patriot missile. Wow. What the fuck? You're making a mess. And you believe this David Sling, Iron Dome, these motherfuckers are selling you jive. You know, that car you bought for $5,000, that's 650,000 miles, you're now on the highway with your woman freezing because the fucking goddamn engine blew. And so, how the fuck did we get here?
No, well, it's pretty much talking about technology and studying.
Right.
But no, so I asked studying question, coming back to study, because I saw this old man, and this one guy went to a Jewish community, and he's asking what the men do, what does the women do, but then most of the men were students, and they study the Torah, and they're studying till old age. And my question was pretty much like, when do you stop studying? Like, when do you become a teacher, right? So there's some people that become rabbis.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Okay.
I didn't like that video.
I didn't like the approach.
He was just harassing them people, and he was trying to say that they were getting tax dollars. But you go get your tax dollars. Don't take that camera to the government and ask them why they're giving these people money for free. These people are doing their shit. Leave them the fuck alone. But the bottom line is,
I want to speak about that.
Some people want to study forever. I got a friend who got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree in psychology, a master's degree in finance, and a master's degree, and a law degree. What the fuck? What are you doing? But some people like that. Some people want to be Torah student. Some people want to be, that's how, you become, like a rabbi. You become proficient at studying the Torah, and you go and teach. And what Torah study does is, like, you got 20 guys in a room studying the Torah, and they start to talk about their interpretations of the Torah, what this meant, what that meant, and then they make decisions based on that. I mean, do I want to? Look, man.
What are you studying like that? Like, what's something that you're studying?
I'm not studying shit like that, except maybe business. But the thing about it is, there are people who study the Bible like that, and they take that Bible study and they try to help people with it. It ain't just Jews studying the fucking Torah, but motherfuckers are studying the imams studying the Quran every day, because that's high level knowledge.
What's the imam?
Imam is like a fucking priest in Islam. Oh, okay. There's like the rabbi, the imam, the priest, and the pastor, in the grand poobah, whatever the fuck.
Okay. So they're pretty much studying
They're
to better
studying
people's lives?
studying their religious doctrine,
Okay.
basically, to try and pass on the information. Somebody's got to pass on that information, and some people study it forever.
What would you say African people or African American people should study in order to bring out like these symbols that have been in African history?
They got to go back to the African spiritual system. They got to go back to the Dogon. They got to go back to the Twa and Mbuti people. And they got to go back to the Kemetic civilizations. And there are people out there that do it. New York, for the most part, is one of the top places you can learn Kemetic history. And a lot of Africans, I know a lot of Africans who don't know the shit about Africa that I know. And I say I used to do this shit for free. I'm doing it for free now, but years ago I used to go to classrooms and speak to students since I was a kid. And I'm talking all this stuff, and there's students in the class that are African, and they're like, they never heard of the stuff I'm telling them. Some people never heard about the African stories that I told them. But Africa is not a big housing project. Africa is 54 countries. So a dude from Nigeria may never have gone to Senegal or Togo or fucking Ghana, but now he's in America. And you think because this dude's from Africa, he knows some niggas in Ghana. Mm-hmm. No, they speak two different languages, or several different languages.
Mm-hmm. And why are like Africans discouraged from studying? Because in a way, they're discouraged because it's not being praised or pushed.
Well, Africans aren't discouraged from anything right now. Mm-hmm. Africans or black people in general, because Australia is full of black people. New Zealand's full of black people. America's full of black people. And there's certain India's full of black people. There's certain black people that get called African, and certain black people that don't get called African. Nobody calls the Indians in India Africans, and nobody calls the Australians or the New Zealanders Africans, nor do they call the people in Papua New Guinea and all those other Pacific Islands Africans. But African Americans have to be called Africans because they're trying to take their land that belongs to them. So that's why people call themselves African Americans.
And why are they discouraged to study the esoteric?
They're not discouraged. There's a lot of people out there that can take them there. One guy is a dude named Phil Valentine. Another guy is Professor James Smalls. Another guy is Kaba Kameni. There's another guy. What's homeboy's name? I forgot homeboy's name, but he's an older cat. He wrote a book called the Integration Trap. There's also Charles Finch, who is available for discussion at any given point. But you got to give these guys some money. You got to call them up and say, look, I got 100 people, and you have to do this. Mm-hmm. And we want to learn Kemetic religions. We want to learn all this stuff. And I got 100 people. We got $10 a piece. We're going to send you $1,000. I'm serious. Give them money. These guys are old. Mm-hmm. They're knowledgeable. And many of them are not doing well financially. But you're going to go out there and you're going to buy sneakers, you're going to buy Hennessy, you're going to buy all this shit, but you're going to ignore what's really going to help you. So email them, Charles Finch, Phil Valentine, Kaba Kameni, whatever. Email them, find out. They're all over the place. They're always talking. They're always, especially Black History Month's coming up. So they're always talking. So you email and say, look, I got 100 people. We're willing to give you $10. Let's get on a Zoom. Or let's get on, some sort of podcast situation, and we'll sit there and you give us the stuff we need, and you give us the direction we need to go back to our African spiritual system. Nobody is preventing that. We're stopping that. Mm-hmm. Do I have it all? No. Do I know a little about it? Yes. Do I know people I can contact? Yes.
And who benefits from people not knowing that information?
Well, the establishment benefits from you being ignorant about yourself. The establishment will always benefit about you being ignorant about yourself. But, I always try to get people to take care of themselves first. Get your family right, get your finances right, and get your faith right. And then you can get your fortune right. And in between that, you got to get your spirituality, and that's your faith. Now, if your faith is Christianity and you're black or you're African, I separate black from African because there are black people all over the place that, are not African. But if you're gonna seek that out, you've got to seek that out actively and find out where the rubber meets the road between Christianity and the African spiritual system. Religion is dealt with in the black community in a totally different way than it's done in any other community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of the culture of black people globally. The religion is just done completely different because, not only did we find God first, we found the spiritual rituals and rites, customs that allow us to worship God. We created those things out of our experience. That's why we talked about myth at the first part of this thing. Myth is not fables and tales. Myth is about the African experience told in stories. Again, back to Wakanda. Wakanda is nothing but the Osiris story told in a guy in a cat suit. You know what I mean? So that's where that has to go.
And what's a practical, you did say, giving the money to the teachers who can come teach, but what's something practical that someone can...
that ain't practical?
Yeah, that is practical.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but so that's, that's like a group, but as an individual, what can they do today to improve or get back into that? And then we're gonna take a little break after this.
You go. I always said the problem with black people today is that they stop listening to crazy niggas.
Oh, they stop listening to crazy.
They stop listening to crazy niggas. And crazy niggas are the ones that kept the reality and the struggle in the black community. And those guys were like these peripheral guys, like Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Noble Drew Ali, all these dudes that were sort of peripheral educators, Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben. I used to go to these, like I said, the Kill Whitey meetings. Mm-hmm. And I used to go to these meetings and, one thing I noticed, there wasn't a lot of women there. Wasn't a lot of black women there. It was mostly black men there. And there wasn't a lot of men. In reference to what should have been happening there, those meetings, in my opinion, this is some wild shit I'm gonna say, those meetings should have been held at Madison Square Garden. Those meetings should have been held in larger venues. They were not. They were like at the Elks Lodge. They were at Obira Dempsey Center. And they were at the Slave Theater, which is on Fulton Street, and all these places. And there were venues, and they had a following, but not big enough. And one of the things that you need to do is to go online and find the appropriate scholars to take you in the direction. There are new ones that suck, but you will be safe with, videos. Because people say, "Oh, you got that online? You did everything online." They got surgery online. They got old football games online. Mm. They got serious lectures. They got Dr. King's speeches online. So online don't mean everything is stupid. You can go and watch some of the stuff I watched as a kid online. Mm. There's something that I could recommend that every one of y'all watch. Not only is the shit funny, it is wildly educational. I put a link in the book. It's called The Great Debate by Mary Lefkowitz Guy McLean Rogers, Dr. John Henry Clark, and Martin Bernal. Martin Bernal wrote a book called Black Athena, and Dr. Clark is Dr. Clark, you know. And and Martin Bernal and Dr. Clark wiped the floor with those two people because it was a debate. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. There's also a thing that Wesley Snipes did. This is why I thought they really put him in jail. It wasn't for taxes, it was for this movie he did called A Great and Mighty Walk. Wesley Snipes is...
Never heard of it.
You never heard of Wesley Snipes?
No, The Great Mighty Walk.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is one of his more important movies. Because Wesley Snipes is a comedic dude. When I was a kid, I used to see Wesley, and he would wear the ankhs and stuff like that. And he was really about his Umgawa Black Power shit. Still is, but and he's an African martial artist too.
That one? That's the movie?
That's
The Great Mighty Walk?
Yeah, that's the Great and Mighty Walk by
It's a documentary?
yeah, it's a documentary, and it was narrated by Wesley Snipes. But he was talking to Dr. Clark, and Dr. Clark is really banging that out. That's one of the places you could start. You could also go to Charles Finch. You can go to Theophilus Obenga. You can get interviews with Shaka Anta Diop. You can get, I'm giving you the real people. So when you see the fake people, you know who they are, because there's a lot of people out there just making shit up. There is Professor Smalls, there's Dr. Jeffries, you know. There are quite a few scholars that's out there that you can get stuff from. There's a white lady named Beatrice Lumpkin. She's like almost 100 years old right now. She's got some stuff, but it's hard to find. And then there are all the books, you know. There are all the books. There's
Oh, there it is.
yeah, there's a guy named Nati in, I think he's in Maryland or DC. Just Google Nati, and he got all the books. You know, that guy that was writing for the Black Panther, what is his name? He's a writer. He does other writing now, but Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Yeah.
His father, Paul W. Coates, just Google that and get all the books you can. A great starter without, you know, being a dick is my book. You know, Wakanda is Real, because that'll give you the direction you need to go to get stuff. And that has a lot more books in it that I don't even remember, like the Anacalypsis.
You have all the references?
Yeah, man, that shit is all up in there. And that'll give you a good direction. That's interesting. That's really fucking wild. Because you asked me how black people could get the African spirituality. I mentioned a list of fucking scholars that you could go to.
Yeah.
But the shit's in my book.
It's all in your book at the end of the day.
It's like I mean, you ain't gonna get everything out of my book.
Yeah.
But if you just got the book,
Yeah.
read it, and then take the knowledge from that book and service the other books, you got it.
Yeah.
And then you can go down and do what you're needing to do.
Yeah, so you have the linkage pretty much.
Yeah,
like a
it
bridge
links. It's a
connecting
bridge. It's a young nigga bridge to all that other shit.
with something fun and interesting as a Wakanda movie.
Yeah, and it's tied into the Osirian myth, which is the Black Panther, as is Star Wars, as is every other story.
All right, well, there you have it. So now, don't say nobody told you.